Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Throne of Steel based on novel. So let's start. The demon god Emperor Fengxiu's voice was very gentle. Even though his surroundings were filled with spatial cracks, they did nothing to him. The green figure in the distance became clearer and clearer as the aura of life from the pillars of green life grew weaker and weaker. Quit dreaming. Even if I have to blow it up, I won't give it to you. Yi Xiaolei's cold voice was filled with hatred. Her home had been destroyed and the fairy dragon, that had guarded the illusory shrine for all these years, had been killed as well. Her hatred for the demon god emperor had reached the limit. The demon god emperor smiled. Do you think you can blow up the god? Before me, anything you try is useless. I'm already half a god. Even if you blow up the god, I can reconstruct it and absorb it. I am the one in charge here. You're just using the spatial cracks that have appeared after the illusory paradise has shattered to make some time. I've waited for all these years, so I do have the patience to wait a little longer. Yi Xiaolei fell silent. She knew that the demon god emperor was telling the truth. He was just too powerful. When he had killed the fairy dragon, he actually became in control of everything. When Yi Xiaolian, who slumbered in the illusory shrine, felt the fairy dragon fall in battle, everything was already too late. The illusionary paradise was her home. Her roots were here. She was like a fruit growing on a great tree. If the tree died, then she would only be picked away, or she would have to die as well. Without a doubt, the demon god emperor had come to pick her. Can he save me? Yi Xiaoling was filled with sorrow. She did not know either. Even if he had really come, how was he supposed to save her from the demon god emperor? The demon god emperor was so powerful such that even if the goddess of nature was brought back there, she would not necessarily be able to defeat the demon god emperor. After all, the goddess of nature was not a god adept in battle. The demon god emperor stood with his hands behind his back, as he silently felt the aura of life that the illusory paradise gave off. His cultivation of spiritual energy had already reached a state where he had returned to simplicity. Even though the aura of life conflicted with his darkness, it did not affect him at all. It was possible to see from high up in the sky that a faint layer of violet-black color enveloped the entire area 50 kilometers away. No aura could pass through this barrier. As a result, even the nearby southern mountain pass was unable to discover anything going on here. But even if they did find out, so what? Who could stop the current demon god emperor? Looking at the distant horizon, the demon god emperor suddenly felt rather agitated, because his emotions actually became momentarily mixed. Was he really still alive? He thought about this piece of shocking news. Although the star demon god had guaranteed a second time that Long Haochen's aura was already gone, for some reason, his heart continued to weigh heavily after he had heard of this. Of course, he did not believe Long Haochen was still alive. He knew just too well whether he really did blow up Long Haochen's heart with that gesture of his finger with his cultivation. It was impossible for any accidents to happen. Did a necromancer resurrect him as undead? The demon god emperor could help, but let a fierce gleam of light flash through his eyes when he thought of that. No matter how much he wished Long Haochen to die, he still felt a special feeling towards Long Haochen. Only he was able to harm him. If a necromancer really had brought him back as undead, the demon god emperor would definitely make him understand the meaning of wishing he was dead. He would make the pain last for 1,000 years, tempering his soul until death. After all, he was that outstanding. When he thought of Long Haochen, the demon god emperor felt very helpless. He could even get Austin Griffin to form a blood pact with him. This was no longer something talent could achieve. Although the demon god emperor was not familiar with the process involved, he knew that Long Haochen must have succeeded under special circumstances. If it were not for Austin Griffin, would he be able to persuade him to return to the demons in the end, or even become his successor as demon god emperor? Perhaps not. He was just too stubborn. If he had known earlier, he should have taken Long Haochen back to the demons with him the first time he had seen him and begin twisting his thoughts back then. Only then would there be a chance. Thinking about this, the demon god emperor suddenly experienced a relieving sorrow, because he suddenly thought about how when Long Houchen died, he could clearly sense the bloodline that belonged to him flowing through Long Houchen's body gradually grow thin and die out as well. Even until now, he could not sense it at all. As the emperor of the demons and the head of the devil dragons, the demon god emperor had a very strong connection to his bloodline. For example, Arbao and Ling Xiao remained within his senses. As a matter of fact, the demon god emperor could sense as they grew stronger or weaker. The bloodline aura from Long Houchen had already vanished completely. He was dead after all. However, the news of his appearance was still worth investigating. Perhaps the humans had really allowed the existence of necromancers, and let these necromancers use Long Houchen's body. No, that shouldn't be the case. The more he thought, the messier the demon god emperor's thoughts became. However, he was a powerhouse after all. He already had a foot planted on the level of God. He calmed down very soon and returned his focus back to the situation before him. He had waited for this day for a very long time now. Ever since his cultivation broke through 1,000,000 spirit energy, he had been searching for a god. Only by borrowing the god could he completely remove the backlash of God that he suffered, and thus become a true god that was not bound to this realm. Once that happened, nothing could restrain him, so to him, this was an important opportunity. Even if the humans of this world cultivated to 1,000,000 spiritual energy, they would only become God by themselves, and upon doing so, their minds would gradually disperse across the world. They would be able to sense everything and govern everything, but they would no longer possess a body, nor could they influence the balance of the world. However, he was different. The demons came from other realms, which gave him the possibility of ignoring the principles of this world. However, he could not become a god by himself. Thinking about this, the demon god emperor was suddenly overcome by a burning desire. He had to succeed today. Once he succeeded, he would become an unprecedented god of this realm. By then, it would no longer be possible for the humans to keep resisting. After he had unified the world, it might be time for him to return to his original realm. Who knew what it had become now? The green light gradually dimmed, while the pure and QT Xiaolei gradually appeared from the green light completely. She was 100 meters away from the demon god emperor. The spatial cracks began to close up and vanish, as the tremendous aura of life silently permeated the vast forest. However, it was unable to break through the demon god emperor's seal. What comforting aura of life! Unfortunately, it doesn't suit me, the demon god emperor smiled and walked towards Yi Xiaolei. Yi Xiaolei stood there quietly, as she stared at the demon god emperor coldly. Her soft, white hands became tightly clenched unknowingly, as she bit her bottom lip gently. She watched the tall, handsome and enchanting figure walk over step by step, while she remained where she was. The illusory shrine was destroyed and the illusory paradise was gone. From that moment onwards, she had completely lost her home. When she thought about the reluctance in the consciousness of the fairy dragon, before it had died, 2 droplets of tears slowly rolled down her cheeks. It was gone. It was all gone. The demon god emperor slowly arrived 10 meters before her and stopped. He extended his hand towards her. Come with me. Don't worry, I won't harm you. You just need to want to become my god from the bottom of your heart, and I can even leave your memory intact. Come with me. I will let you witness many wonders and marvels. It'll also give the Xingmo Dalu a true god. Yi Xiaolei stared at the demon god emperor with her moist eyes. She could see a hint of sincerity in the depths of his eyes. Upon reaching his cultivation, the demon god emperor had already let go of all darkness. To him, many things that ordinary people found to be important no longer mattered. The things he wanted had already reached a completely different level. I've waited for a very long time now. I don't want to keep waiting. I hope to obtain a god with self-consciousness. That way, I won't have to be lonely in the future millennia to come. What do you think? Actually, joy and sorrow is only temporary most of the time. Time will dilute it all. Once you have witnessed many different worlds with me, you will end up forgetting the past. Come with me. I think you won't regret it. The demon god emperor spoke very softly, and he maintained a slight smile the entire time. His gaze was filled with gentleness, just like a father calling for his daughter. Yi Xiaolei's gaze gradually became lost. Finally, she raised her left foot and took a step forward slowly. Afterwards, she began to walk towards the demon god emperor just as slowly. The demon god emperor's smile grew deeper. Fusing with an obedient god was much easier than one that resisted, and the benefits that it would bring to the stability of his cultivation would obviously be different as well. Of course, everything he said to Yi Xiaolei came from the bottom of his heart. It was all sincere. It was exactly because of that he was able to confuse her the most. He never treated Yi Xiaolei as a threat in the first place. Once she had merged into his powers, she posed even less of a threat. So what if her consciousness remained? 10 meters, 9 meters, 8 meters, 7 meters. Yi Xiaolei approached the demon god emperor slowly. As if he was afraid of scaring her, the demon god emperor just stood where he was with his right hand extended, waiting for her quietly. 5 meters. Only 5 meters separated them now. If Yi Xiaolei took 2 more steps further, the demon god emperor would be able to reach her. Currently, she appeared even more lost than before, as if she could not see what was before her. Perhaps she had even entered a different state of consciousness. She took another step forwards and their distance grew closer. Joy had already begun to appear in the depths of the demon god emperor's eyes. At his cultivation, he desired very little, but becoming a true god was his greatest objective. It would even allow him to break free from the pain due to the backlash from God. As a result, his true emotions appeared in his eyes. However, it was also at that moment that the demon god emperor's heart skipped a beat. Instinctively, he stepped forward and grabbed at Yi Xiaolei with his right hand. It was also in that instance that Yi Xiaolei's lost gaze suddenly cleared up. It was filled with deep resentment. A white, translucent figure appeared in front of Yi Xiaolei without any warning. He even possessed Yi Xiaolei's special aura of life. The demon god emperor obviously ended up grabbing the translucent figure. What he caught was a fist. An indescribable, resplendent light suddenly surged from the figure's chest. The demon god emperor only felt that he was facing against a boundless starry sky, where every single star shone as brightly as it could. The light was endless and the great power seemed to illuminate all of the darkness he possessed. As everything had happened just too suddenly, and that the demon god emperor had dropped his guard, as he was close to what he desired for so long, the demon god emperor could not fight back. He only released the fist and crossed his arms before him to protect himself. Powerful white light shined, forming a huge, white ball of light between the figure and the demon god emperor. Purple inscriptions flowed over the demon god emperor's crossed arms and the pure darkness did not yield at all. It actually blocked the attack from the light of eternity completely. As there was no way forward, the white light could only surge upwards. It shot straight up and basically rammed into the demon god emperor's seal immediately. With a great boom, it rapidly spread outwards under the seal. Even with the demon god emperor's great strength, large parts of the seal actually cracked. The cracks spread rapidly and it seemed like it could collapse at any moment. Now, the demon god emperor could see the white figure clearly. He was a man covered in translucent, white armor. He wore a crown on his head, and his face was obscured by a mask. A powerful aura actually pressured him to the point where chills ran down his spine. The most terrifying aspect was his opponent's domain. The demon god emperor had cultivated his powers of darkness to the extreme. Not only was it pure and vast, it possessed an unmatched pressure. However, against the white light, his darkness failed to gain any advantage at all. It actually seemed to be slightly surprised. Clearly, this was a difference between the levels of their domains. The demon god emperor's eyes were filled with shock. Before him was clearly a human. However, since when did the humans have a powerhouse like this? Even the captain of the demon god slayers, Chen Zidian, was nowhere as powerful as this person. With the huge translucent sword placed horizontal between them, the sunlight suddenly seemed to dim. Daytime seemed to be replaced by night. Demon God Emperor, we meet again. Perhaps the next time we meet is when we decide the victor. A clear and familiar voice rang out. The demon god emperor shuddered in disbelief. He even forgot to attack. You? The demon god emperor stared at the human expert right before him in complete shock. Even some astoundment had appeared in his eyes. He even stumbled back instinctively. Wasn't the person who had suddenly appeared before Yi Xiaolei and pulled her back from darkness the person in possession of the divine throne of eternity and creation, the first chairman of the Temple Union and the divine knight of glory and leadership, Long Haochen? Sensing the danger from Yi Xiaolei, Long Haochen immediately hurried over after dealing with Hao Yue's attempt at killing the Knight of Judgment of the Dead and the Lich King. Traveling through space required time, let alone the fact that Long Haochen was in another realm, which was why it delayed him slightly. Fortunately, the folding of space as he traveled was unable to threaten him with his cultivation and the protection of the divine throne of eternity and creation. Yi Xiaolei had actually sensed her connection with Long Haochen a long time ago. At the same time, she also sensed Long Haochen's strength. Although she could only sense the strength of Long Haochen's soul, she understood that the strength of the soul had a close relationship to cultivation. As a result, when Yi Xiaolei had slowly approached the demon god emperor, she had not been persuaded, nor had she become lost. It was to fool the demon god emperor and give Long Haochen enough time to travel through space. Long Haochen still ended up making it in time. The moment he had appeared, Yi Xiaolei only felt that she had become feeble. He had managed to repel the demon god emperor. He had actually managed to repel the demon god emperor. Even though the demon god emperor was unprepared, just how many people were unable to do that in this world? It's me, Long Haochen said. At the same time, he raised his left hand and the divine snail shield of sun and moon appeared before him as it flashed with 9-colored light. As Long Haochen grew, the person he feared the most without a doubt was the demon god emperor. Even with all the undead kings from Hao Yue's realm combined, he did not find them as dangerous as the demon god emperor. As a result, after he had repelled the demon god emperor, he used the power of the divine stone of sun and moon without any hesitation to unleash the supra-divine tool might of the divine snail shield of sun and moon. The demon god emperor experienced inner turmoil. He had never thought that the issue he was just pondering earlier would be answered right now, right here. Long Haochen was still alive. He was actually still alive. From his aura and the wondrous armor he wore, the demon god emperor could tell that he was not under the control of a necromancer. Moreover, the strength he exhibited even made the demon god emperor feel threatened. How can you still be alive? The demon god emperor asked in confusion. To him, Long Haochen's death seemed to be even more important than taking away the godhood from Yi Xiaolei. Long Haochen said indifferently, "Why must I be dead? You already killed me once, but I believe you won't get a second opportunity to do that. Farewell. I believe in the soon future, we will meet once again on the battlefield. When that happens, I will definitely be asking for guidance from your majesty." As he said that, 9-colored light immediately erupted from the divine snail shield of sun and moon, striking the demon god emperor as a thick streak of light. Although the divine snail shield of sun and moon's greatest power could only be unleashed during dusk or dawn, it was able to match the divine throne of eternity and creation's strongest attack, when it unleashed its attack as a supra-divine tool due to the accumulation of power over time. The demon god emperor roared, "You can't leave." He extended his right hand and a strange inscription appeared on his fist. Afterwards, it just struck the 9-colored light of the supra-divine tool in such a bold fashion. There was a great explosion. The demon god emperor's seal immediately shattered under this terrifying explosion, as the terrifying power basically doused the entire forest in light. However, a supra-divine tool was a supra-divine tool after all. The demon god emperor was powerful, but he still ended up losing the upper hand slightly in the explosion. His body was blown thousands of meters away, while Long Haochen and Yi Xiaolei completely vanished from where the center of the explosion was. The demon god emperor vaguely saw that when the 9-colored light hurled towards him, a ball of green light flew out from Long Haochen's body and enveloped Yi Xiaolei. Afterwards, she vanished. Long Haochen flashed with purple light and immediately vanished before the collision as well. He had left by traveling through space. failing to become god on the verge of success, did not affect the demon god emperor the most. The greatest impact on him came from Long Houchen's appearance. When all the pulses of spiritual energy settled down completely, the demon god emperor suddenly discovered that he actually felt fear from the bottom of his heart. Long Houchen was still alive. Did that mean that Austin Griffin was still alive as well? Did Austin Griffin revive him? No, that was impossible. The power he just used had nothing to do with Austin Griffin. But he had only vanished for a few years. So how did his cultivation become so powerful? Was his armor the divine throne of eternity and creation that had never recognized anyone from the Night Temple? And that shield, it should have been a supra-divine tool as well. With two supra-divine tools, Long Houchen really did possess the right to challenge him. The demon god emperor inhaled deeply to calm himself down. He needed to think. He needed to think carefully. Raising his head, he looked in the direction of the southern mountain pass. He could already sense that human powerhouses had discovered the disturbance here and were heading over. If he had obtained Yi Xiaolei, perhaps he could just kill all the humans who came here, as he would be in a good mood, but he was unwilling to waste any time now. With a wave of his right hand, a beam of purple light hovered before him quietly. With a flash, the demon god emperor entered the beam of purple light and began traversing through space. Compared to the panic that the demon god emperor felt, Yi Xiaolei currently experienced something completely different, because she discovered in her shock that she had actually come to a place similar to the illusory paradise, a world that did not pale in comparison in terms of vitality. The grass formed a green carpet on the ground as the trees stood as forests. Aura of life that she could directly see with her eyes flowed through the boundless greenery. Landing on the ground, Yi Xiaolei sensed that all the plants in the surroundings seemed to be greeting her, to her joy and surprise. Regardless of where this was, she found it to be so intimate. The aura of nature allowed her to become a part of it very soon. As the god that the goddess of nature had left in the world of humans, she was basically a part of the goddess. Although this was a different place, the aura of life was the same. Welcome to the world of Eastern, cute little girl. A gruff voice rang out. Afterwards, a green figure emerged from a streak of green light, smiling at her. The green figure was actually around the same height as Yi Xiaolei. Yi Xiaolei could sense his strength, and she could sense the dense aura of life from him as well. The world of Eastern. Is this another realm? Yi Xiaolei asked in surprise. Was this a realm that completely belonged to nature? The king of Eastern nodded. You can call it another realm. I like your aura very much. It's very similar to my master's aura. It's much weaker, but look, everything here likes you very much. I am the king of Eastern, the ruler of this place. You are welcome to stay. The king of Eastern's right. You are welcome to stay. With a flash, Long Houchen appeared beside Yi Xiaolei after having unequipped his armor. He looked at her gently. Yi Xiaolei looked at the king of Eastern, before looking at Long Houchen. Just where is this? Long Houchen said, this is the realm of eternity, within the divine throne of eternity and creation. It can be called the world of Eastern. There's only the aura of nature and life here. I think you'll like it, right? Yi Xiaolei raised her head to look at Long Houchen. She said softly, thank you for saving me. Long Houchen smiled, you don't need to thank me. I should be the one thanking you. If it weren't for your help, I would have died twice already at the very least. Whether it was when Kia was encircled, when she awakened, or when I was killed by the demon god emperor, it was all because of your help that we managed to survive. In particular with the latter time, if it were not for your guidance, Kia might not have been able to obtain the Tower of Eternity to ask Elux to revive me. In the past, when Long Houchen met with Yi Xiaolei in the illusory paradise, his necromancer aura encountered a certain level of rejection from Yi Xiaolei. However, he was a sign of light after all, so Yi Xiaolei still ended up forming a pact with him. This pact was called mutual assistance. The pact allowed them to sense each other's aura. If one of them was in danger, the other could help them. In the past 2 times that Yi Xiaolei had assisted Long Houchen, it was to heal him and stabilize his wounds, because she was not adept at battle. Now that Long Haochen had finally returned the favor when Yi Xiaolei faced the greatest danger. He had also brought her to safety. There was a smear of sadness in Yi Xiaolei's eyes. She looked at the surroundings and suddenly said something that shocked Long Haochen, "No matter how nice this place is, it's not my home. I don't belong in this realm. Long Haochen, I want to become your spiritual stove." Part 1 end here.